it contains instructions in a way that if we give it a question, let's say that a mathematical logical question, let's say that we add like 5 plus 2, so a calculator will accept you to input those digits or those figures in the app, in the program, and then it process. It means calculating the answer using the instruction and logic that was put in that simple program of a calculator, and then gives you the output. So basically that is what is meant by program. This program will be running on a computer. When you say input, we mean that things that you feed in a computer, and then when you say output, we mean things that come out of the computer. For example, in that scenario that I've just given you, input is input is the 5 plus 2, because that's what I said. So input is 5 plus 2, then output is the 7, or what you call the answer. So any system that runs on a computer that can you to input and then process and give you output, we basically call that a program. So you have different types of programs. So you have system softwares and application softwares, or what you call apps. So you have different, as I've said, I have different kinds of programs. So system softwares, these are softwares that are meant to make the computer work as supposed to work, or as supposed to perform. For them, they are just there to add value on the computer. For example, you hear of something called operating system. Operating system is not a software that is going to do complete logic for you. However, operating system is the one that will enable you to install there different kinds of programs. So right now when I talk about program, you know what I mean. And then be like the main, like you can hear, it is a system it's a system software, like the main controller of other programs on your computer. So we have different kinds of operating systems. So when you talk about operating system, we look at something like Windows. If you I believe right now, if you're already in this Zoom, you already know basics. Or when you talk about Windows, I believe you might have heard about it. So Windows is a system software. It is an operating system. Then we have Mac operating system. So this Mac operating system will be one system on a computer that will allow other system to work on it. To work on a computer, or to monitor other system. And then we have Android operating system. Android operating system is an operating system that will be on on your phone, or is an operating system on the phone that will allow you to put other systems on, other softwares or other applications to it. So those are the basic. Hello, and how are you? I first welcome you to our webinar, and thank you for joining. Today we are going to look at the topic that you're already seeing at your screen, which is explaining the path of becoming a software developer. So this presentation is going to mainly look at the people who are aspiring to become developers, as well as developers who are also in that space of recruiting members, or use different kind of people to become developers. So what we're going to look at today is the basics of how softwares work, up to the last point of what you need to get started with becoming developer. And our last section will be having your questions, hearing questions from you if you have one, and we answer, as well as sharing your experience if you have something to share with us. So it's going to be an interesting presentation and interactive. So I request you to be attentive up to the end of our presentation. Once again, I thank you for joining in to our Zoom. And if you think there is someone, either a family or a friend, that you think this kind of knowledge might be beneficial to them, we request you and recommend you to share with them so they can also be part of this kind of knowledge sharing. So without much said, let's go ahead and begin with our presentation. So we look at introduction. First of all, I've already welcomed you, and I welcome you once again for joining into our 8 learning community. So the objective of our today's webinar will be to guide you from beginner to advanced software development journey. I've already explained that, and I've said that the path that we're going to take in this presentation. So the importance of this presentation or this webinar will be to empowering you with skills to create software solutions. So we're going to give you basic knowledge and the path that you'll need in order to become a software developer. So if you have a few questions that you always ask yourself if software development is right for you or not, then this is a right presentation for you that is going to make that clear. That's going to answer that question clearly for you, whether you should try it out or not. And we're going to try to explain things step by step. So we proceed. So here are the topics that we shall cover. We shall look at basic information about computer softwares. So when you talk about computer software, what do we actually mean? That's what we're going to look at today. We shall look at understanding web systems. When someone says I'm going to visit this website, when someone gives you a link, visit this website, what does the whole word website mean and how it works? So we shall look at the relationship between different kinds of software. That is the relationship between web system, desktop system, and mobile applications. So those are the core things that we use when you're doing what, when you're creating software, so different kind of systems. So we're going to look at, when you talk about web system, how is it different from a desktop system? How is it different from a mobile app? That's what we're going also to look at today. Then we shall also get started with the programming. So how can I get started with programming if I have an interest in becoming a programmer? Then we shall also look at what you need to become a programmer. We shall not leave you hanging. So that's why I say that this is going to be very informative presentation for everyone. Now, so let's begin. So we begin with the basic information about computer software. So we're going to begin by defining programs and operating system used in what? In computers. So a program is a software, or is a no, that's really confusing too. Okay, a program is organized instructions that are designed to sit on a computer and can make the computer perform a specific task. So most of the programs, we install them on computers in order a computer can be able to compute for you. It will accept an input and it will process that input and give you the output. For example, a simple program that we can talk about is a calculator. A calculator it contains instructions in a way that if we give it a question, let's say that a mathematical logical question, let's say that we add like 5 plus 2. So a calculator will accept you to input those digits or those figures in the app, in the program, and then it process. It means calculating the answer using the instruction and logic that was put in that simple program of a calculator, and then gives you the output. So basically, that is what is meant by program. This program will be running on a computer. When you say input, we mean that things that you feed in a computer, and then when we say output, we mean things that come out of the computer. For example, in that scenario that I've just given you, input is input is the 5 plus 2 because that's what I said. So input is 5 plus 2, then output is the 7, or what you call the answer. So any system that runs on a computer that can accept you to input and then process and give you output, we basically call that a program. So you have different types of programs. So you have system softwares and application softwares, or what you call apps. So you have different, as I've said, I have different kinds of programs. So system softwares, these are softwares that are meant to make the computer work as supposed to work, or as supposed to perform. For them, they are just there to add value on the computer. For example, you hear of something called operating system. Operating system is not a software that is going to do complete logic for you. However, operating system is the one that will enable you to install there different kinds of programs. So right now when I talk about program, you know what I mean. And then be like the main, like you can hear, it is a system it's a system software, like the main controller of other programs on your computer. So we have different kinds of operating systems. So when you talk about operating system, we look at something like Windows. If you I believe right now, if you're already in this Zoom, you already know basics. Or when you talk about Windows, I believe you might have heard about it. So Windows is a system software. It is an operating system. Then we have Mac operating system. So this Mac operating system will be one system on a computer that will allow other system to work on it. I mean, to work on a computer or to monitor other system. And then we have Android operating system. Android operating system is an operating system that will be on what? On your phone, or like is an operating system on the phone that will allow you to put other systems on, I mean other softwares or other applications to it. So those are the basic examples of system softwares. Then you have others like other utility programs, like computer viruses, etc. Then we have examples, or we have different kind of examples. We have different examples. I've already said that, for example, operating system, we have Mac operating system and Windows. Then when it comes to application softwares, we have Microsoft software. This one will be used just for Office and documents. Then we have Photoshop. So Photoshop is an application just like Microsoft software. Like Microsoft Office. Photoshop will just be used for working on what? On photos and media editing. Okay, so you can now differentiate between an operating system or a system software and a what? And an application. So an application or application software, it will be performing a specific thing, whereby a system software will be a general one that most of the time it will be one on the computer, or the one that will be used to monitor other operating system, other application that you put on your phone, on your computer or the phone. Then let us look at web systems. So web systems, they are systems. I'm just going to use a simple definition. Web systems, they are systems that operate on the internet. If you still remember the system that softwares that we've just discussed in the previous slide, we're talking about software that are installed, or applications that are installed on the computer. Now, system software, web systems, these are very important. For them, they operate on internet. So when I talk about internet, it means also a computer. It will not just operate in space. It will be a computer that is at one place, and it has ability to be accessed at different kinds of places. So that is how that is a simple definition of a web system. It will be a system that will be on one computer, and it will be accessed on different computers or different phones at the same time, or in the different times. However, software will be just one PC on a single. It will be one on the single computer. So web system, they operate over internet, and we shall go deep and see what is meant by web system. So as I said, that it will operate on internet, but we are the users and we are the one who will need to use these things even though they are on internet. So to access a web system, you will need a software that will enable you to send a request to the internet and gets it back and then presents it to you either on your gadget that you're using, either on phone or on computer. So that software is one of it is called a browser. So you'll have a link or a URL that will specify a location where your data is, or the system is stored on internet, and then you put in that URL and it is correct. So it will go ahead and collect the data that is on internet. It will be processed, or what you call the server, it will be processed and then send it back to you. So this is what you call web browser, the main web browser like Google Chrome, Opera Mini. It will receive that information and present to you on your gadget that you're currently using. So a system that works in that way, in a way that you need an internet connection to access it or to make use of it, that one we call it a web system or a web-based system. So components of web-based system are divided into two. The first component is called the front end. The second component is called the back end. So in the front end is what we, the users, we shall be seeing, and most of time this front end logic will be working on your device that you're using. Let's say a mobile phone or a computer. Among examples of what makes up the system, and we have is among the examples is a HTML. So HTML is a component of a web system that you can use, or that we can use to do what? We can use, the component of the web system that we can use to present what is on the system. Then we have CSS. This is another component of web system that we'll use to design. So HTML is for the content, then CSS is for the design and coloring and organizing the content that you have. So CSS does not have content, but it just organize and design the content. Then we have JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language or a software within your browser that will enable us to perform quick operations within your browser without going back to the server. So that first bracket that you're seeing there, it is what makes up what we call the front end. So if you hear someone talking about front end this time, you shouldn't be confused that he's talking magic. It's just basically what I've just spoken right now. Then back end is what is on the server. Okay, so on the server, when you talk about server, is a storage or a single computer. Remember, in the definition of web system, we say that it must be a system must be on one computer that can be accessed on different ones. So that one computer that is providing other computers to access the software, or that one computer where the software is installed on internet, is what we call the server. Okay, so a programming language that is on the server is what we call the backend. So another thing that is on the backend is the database. So remember, we shall be many people accessing only one system on the server. So it means that there must be one centralized container. Who is Awino Dickens? You're spoiling my presentation. Please stop doing that. Stop doing that. Okay. So I'm saying that sorry about that. All right. So I was saying that the components, so we're looking at the backend. So the database is a storage where we shall have all the centralized data stored. Let's say that if we have 10 people who are using one system that is on the server, so these records where they'll be saved in an optimal way is called a what? A database. That is also on the back end. So those two brackets, you should be able to differentiate them. When you talk about back end, you should be able to know what's meant by back end. And when you talk about front end, you should be able now to know what's meant by front end. So now we have different ways. Okay, this is how the web systems work. So the first thing will be the server, will be a user request. Let's say that you want to register yourself on a system. So you'll begin by sending a request, okay? So you'll send a request, or what you call the user request. Let's say that I want to register, or you want to log into a system. So you'll go to a relevant link and go ahead and send what you call this request. Then after receiving the request, the server, the other computer that we talked about, this one, will receive that request and then process it. It will know whether you want to register or log in according to what we have put in. So this will become the first one. And then here, after the server receives the request, it will go ahead and process it. Okay? So this is the second step, number 2. Then after processing it, the server will go ahead and retrieve the data that it's supposed to be sent to you. So this is step number 3. So if your process requires to first go to the database, that process is what you call retrieving the what? Retrieving the data. So this is process number 3. Okay, so retrieving the data will involve going to the database, and then after receiving the data that has come from the database, let's say that you've provided a username and password, so that your account is saved on what? On the database. So the server will process and then check if the username and password you've provided is on your database. If it is there, then or not there, it will go ahead and send you back what you call the response. This is what you call number 4. So this is the process number 4. So the response, this is number 4, you'll see it. Okay, so the response will come back and then will through the internet, and then will be displayed to you by your browser. This is process number 5. So that is how basically the web systems work. There is no any magic, but this is like a overall picture. So if you want to learn, you can see now, okay, where am I going to put my emphasis on what? On these web programming, or on what? On this in these all things that I've discussed. So let me come again just briefly. So I've said that it will begin by you sending the request. You go ahead and send your request, and then the server will receive the request and then process the request. After processing the request, it will go ahead and retrieve the relevant data from the database. Remember, the database is also online on the server, and then after it goes ahead and give you the response. So the response that you receive, it will be displayed on your what? On your web browser. We've already discussed what's meant by web browser. So basically, that is how web systems work. So if you see a system that has characteristics of what we have just talked about in this slide, then just know that is basically a web-based system or a web system. So what is the relationship between a web system and a desktop application and a mobile application? So let us disintegrate them here. So web systems are accessible through browsers, platform independent. So web system, they access through the browser. So if you see a system that asks you to open your Google Chrome, that asks you to open your Firefox, that asks you to open your Opera Mini, just know that is what we call a web system. So, and it is platform independent. When I say platform independent, work on any kind of a what? On a device. It will work on a computer, it will work on a mobile phone, it will work on a Windows machine, it will work on Mac machine. So it is cutting across. That's what we call it is independent of platform. It is not limited by platform. So that's also can call it an advantage of a web system. However, to access it, you will need a browser, or what we call Google Chrome, or what we call Opera Mini, etc. So if Opera Mini is on your phone, the same thing, the system that can be accessed on a laptop can be accessed as well on your what? On your phone. But you'll need internet connection in order to access this system. Remember, it is running on one computer but accessed on different platforms or different computers using the what? Using the internet access and the browser. So that is basically what's meant by web system. Then we have desktop system. If someone tells you, I want a desktop system, so a desktop system is a system that will be installed on a personal computer, or on when you talk about personal computer, you know what I mean, that will be installed on a computer or a laptop. Okay, so that's what we call a desktop system or software. Okay, and these softwares, for them, they are usually powerful. So if you don't have it installed on your computer, you cannot use it. And we have already discussed these softwares. Example of them, we have like Photoshop. So Photoshop is very powerful. You can have like a video editor. You can have like a Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office. You can have like a video player. You can have as many as you can mention. These softwares, even the browser itself is a desktop software, because you'll need to first install it on your computer. So for this one, you can now look at the difference. It is limited to a type of a computer. For example, a desktop software, it can be installed on Windows, but that same setup cannot be installed on what? On the phone, or on the what? On the Mac operating system, unless you get a corresponding one that works like almost the same, or from the same distributor or the company. So that is what we meant by what? A desktop system. So if you hear someone talking about desktop system at this moment, you should be knowing what they are talking about. Then you have mobile applications. So mobile applications, for them, they are designed to be installed on smartphones and tablets and touch-based interfaces. So I repeat again, mobile app or mobile applications. So they are like desktop application, because here are looking here the word install. So they are like desktop application, but for them their difference is you must put it on the what? On the phone. So you can now know the difference between those three different types of technology. Now, the integration of these three, so they have to, the integration of these three, remember, let's say that we are making let's say that we are making a school management system. Let's say that we are making a school management system, for example. So this school management system, first of all, we shall need teachers to log in to submit maybe marks. We shall need students to log in to see their marks. We shall need administrators to log in to see the information, how it is flowing. We shall need the bursar to log in and manage his fees, the school fees. So all of these are different players that are required to access the same system on the same database. So a solution to it, you'll find that you need all these three technologies to be integrated together. So a web system, it will be now the server where, remember the component of web system, it is running on one computer, right? It is running on one computer. So all of them, they'll need to access the same database. So you need a web system that will provide a single database, because of that it's because of its component of working on a one computer. So you need a web system first in order to access everything in on one computer or on a centralized database. Then after the web system, then you will need, once you have a web system, then you may need a desktop software. A desktop software, let's say that you want to do some very powerful operation, like maybe compressing the students' photos before they are uploaded using the same system. Or maybe you want, if you don't have internet connection, you want to first save this data offline. Then when you connect the internet, you should send these things to the centralized database. Then you may need a desktop system that is going to work with this web system. So you see now those two are working hand in hand, so that to synchronize data. Then you have mobile application. I want the parents not to suffer again with visiting the link. I don't want the parents to suffer when they don't have internet connection, something like that. So you may need to create for them a mobile application. So if a parent has a smartphone, they just install the mobile application and they can be able to play their roles on that particular system. So that is how you may integrate the mobile app with that one system. So this whole system, you'll find that you'll need to work all of them hand in hand, and then you'll come up with what you call cloud services. Cloud services is now the web-based system, and then the responsive design. The responsive design is whereby a web system being able to work on all devices properly without showing, maybe without reducing on the speed, as well as while displaying things in right fonts and right sizes. So all these systems, you will need them in order to come up with a very powerful solution that can suit everyone according to the scenario that you'll be having at hand. So we proceed. Now I believe now you understand now the difference between those three. Then we look at getting started with programming language, with programming. So choosing a programming, you will begin, getting started with programming. So to get started with programming, first of all, you may need to first choose which language that you want to begin with. So in the web programming, you'll have know how you're going to escape HTML, because HTML is the way how we present the content on the browsers. Then CSS is the way how we design that content presented to the browser. So you have to begin in those. Then that is the front end. JavaScript is optional, but it is also good. Then you'll need the back end logic. If you still remember how I've been explaining that if I submit something to the internet, I'll need it to be processed and then receive back the response. So when you're processing that information, there is a programming language or a set of rules that you have to follow in order to come up with the result that you want. So those programming languages that work on the server, we have Python, we have JavaScript for general purposes, and then Java and Kotlin for mobile application. Then we have on server, we have, I'm still here on this is for the front end web. Then here on the server, we have Python and JavaScript. This is general one. And then we have PHP and C#. So those are the most common programming language that we use on the server that will be used to perform your logics on the server. Then we have Java Kotlin for making what? For making your mobile applications as well as desktop applications. So these are the technologies that you may need to determine which one you want to begin with in order to become a programmer. So that is the first step, choosing a language. For example, you say, okay, I want to start learning. So I may need to, since I've seen web is very, very crucial, so let me begin with web. So you may begin with HTML and CSS. So as you're learning, you can seek guidance, further guidance, and they show you when you finish HTML and CSS, you go to this one. Okay? So you may say, okay, let me begin with back end, but you cannot do back end if you don't have a way how you're going to present them. So you need a what? Web first, the front end. Now if you want to do the mobile applications, then you can do one of these programming languages. So that is how you get started. So this is the first step, to choose the language, and I've shown you the relevancy of each language. So another thing is the tools. So what are you going to use to create softwares? So we have different tools that we use to create softwares. The first tool that we're going to use is the editor. Okay, what you call the code editors, because what we're going to be writing here, they are instructions, and these instructions that we shall be writing, they are the one that we call the code, or the source code, what you may call the source code. Now these editors that we'll use to write the code are available. Among them is a Visual Studio Code, and we have IDEs. Okay, IDEs, they are integrated. They are advanced code editor that we use to advanced project that will need you to compile. For example, we have PyCharm for creating for Python, and then we have Android Studio. So Android Studio also will help you to do what? To create mobile applications. And then you may have things like IDs like Norton. You may have IDs like there's so many IDs out there. Okay, so now you have to determine which code editor or which tool you're going to need in order to get started. So that is the second step that you'll have to do what to need. Then lastly is the learning platform. So we have different kind of learning platforms, and the learning platform that we are having for us, we are providing right now, is 8Learning, and I'll explain about 8Learning in future there. So after we get the learning platform, you can go ahead now and start learning. You learn as you implement. So what you need to begin with, so the other one, we are the tools that you may need to begin with, all the steps. Okay, so once you have this, you have you have determined the language you want to learn, you have the tools installed in your computer. Now you also have the platform that is going to train you. Now the next thing that you'll need is now equipments. So the first one is a personal computer. So I talk about a personal computer is your own computer. Okay, so this one is necessary to help you in coding. Okay, so you need your own computer. You can as well borrow, but you'll be limited. But the best way how you recommend is to have your own laptop or your own computer. Then the next thing that you will need is the internet connection, so, or internet access. So this internet will help you to search for errors in case you find an error, or even downloading the tutorials or lessons that we shall be teaching you, for example. So you'll need that. If you don't have internet connection, then it's going to be very hard for you to proceed with your career of learning. So those are the two things that you need. The third one, you need interest to learn. So this is very, very important. If you're not motivated, if you feel like this is not your thing, you might not even need to start, because you may start just to test, but if you don't have the interest in learning, then you will not learn, because these things are not just like you watch and automatically go in your head. They'll need you to be concentrated. It need you to have that kind of a heart that I can wake up in the middle of the night and go on my computer and learn something about programming. So that is the inspiration that you might need in order to do what? To overcome the challenges that you'll find when you're learning this programming. However, it is learnable, and anyone who can read and write and have the intelligent can be able to, who can read and write, they can be able to create what? Softwares. So you have to have the motivation and be able to remain motivated, because those are two different things. You may be motivated today, but you fail to remain motivated tomorrow. Now, we look at 8Learning. So those are the things that you need. So note them down. I've talked about the tools, and then I've talked about the equipment that you need. So let's look at 8Learning. So 8Learning is a platform that provides you with step-by-step courses. Let's say that you don't have anything about programming, or you don't know anything about programming, but you feel like you might be able to learn something in programming, or like after watching this presentation, you think like these things are learnable and doable, and you want to start. Or let's say that you're already somewhere and you stop, or maybe like you want to practice. So 8Learning, it has courses that suits every category. 8Learning is a platform where we provide online teaching. So if you want to learn beginning from zero, you have a course that suits for you at a very low price or affordable price. If you're already a programmer, you want to resume programming, or you want to keep practicing, you have a course also that suits for you, that suits you. Or if you're already at maybe you're already at basic program and you want to advance, still have programs that courses that suit you. So I have 4 main courses. One for web developers, for web beginners. If you want to become a web developer, okay, we have a course for you. If you don't know anything, we have a relevant course for you that you can get started learning from zero, as long as you have those 4 equipments. Those 3 equipments that I've explained to you, and those tools, and have the motivation, and you want to learn from zero, then we have a relevant course for you. So if you are already a web developer and you want to learn mobile applications, we also have a course for you. If you're a web developer and you want to learn advanced web programming, making dashboards, systems, and advanced programming, we also have advanced web programming for web developers who already know basic web programming. Then if you want to master also your mobile application user interfaces, or how to create different techniques of mobile applications, designing mobile application, we also have a relevant course for you. So if the 8 Learning is a platform that suits you in any way. So what you need is just to determine the level that you are on, and the course, the level that you're on, so you can identify the course that you want to learn, and then reach us, and then we prepare for you, or we prepare you and then add you on our online platform, because right now we are teaching online, and our courses are very simple and straightforward, and you learn at your own pace. Our content is already available there, so our instructors, their task is just to guide you and monitor your progresses. When you are complete, we have certificate that we give you that are already identified that are already provisioned by the Uganda-based certificates, education-based certificates. So 8 Learning is a course, is a platform that will suit you in any way, where you can be able to learn a course even if you're from zero and you have these main equipment, qualification that I've just told you. Then you can be able to reach us, and then we start training you. So also have regular updates of our content. So our content is never outdated. We always keep our content up to date. You have all the latest technologies in order to keep you learning. So another thing is to what I already said is to determine what you want to learn. For example, you have a course called Web for Beginners. We are providing it for beginners. We have advanced web programming. That's where we're looking at Laravel and different kinds of framework. Then we have mobile application development. That's where we look at Flutter and the rest. Then we have mastering Flutter UI. That is also another programming course that we offer you, where you master the user interfaces for mobile applications, because it is very interesting. Mobile applications are very interesting. They are we can have another presentation that is just mobile apps on its own. Okay, so this is an important platform that can provide you a skill that can make you start making money after you've earned it, or even start making solutions that can solve problems in your community. That is 8 Learning for you. So you have to stay committed. So these are the tips that I can give you, and also I'm going to give you our contacts. So I'm coming towards the end of our presentation. So the first tip, you have to be committed. To stay committed and practice regularly. I believe some people always try to begin programming. At the end of the day, they give up, or they get demoralized, or they get distracted and they do other things. But to proceed for you, you have to be committed. To become a successful programmer, you have to be committed. To stay, not just to be or to get committed, is just to stay committed. Otherwise, if you're not committed, then don't even start. Okay, so you have to stay committed until you reach at the end of the day. The end of the course, whereby you'll be able to do the solutions that we are telling you. They are really possible by following step-by-step instructions. So stay committed, and you have to practice regularly in order to succeed in programming. So you can also reach out for help. We instructors, we mentors, we're always out there waiting for you to disturb us so we can help you. We even have free courses that we provide in order to help you. So if you're really stuck, you can reach out, and then we just show you how you solve a problem, and then you're able to do what? To proceed. Not to face a big challenge, and you feel like you're stuck and then give up. No, nothing is impossible when it comes to programming or the possibility of programming. Almost everything that you want to do right now when you want to learn, it has already been done. So when you're stuck, you can just reach out and then we help you, and then you're able to do what? To proceed. So that is our contact for our administrator. If you feel like you have more questions, you want to ask more about 8 learning, that is the contact for administrator. +256 708 018140. I repeat, +256 704 018140. It is on WhatsApp. You can reach out to administrator. She's very hospitable and she'll be able to do what? To respond to you and answer all your questions. You can also follow us on X. So this is our X platform. This is our website. You can search 8 Learning website. You can contact us using these emails, or you can be able to browse our courses from here. Then this is our X platform. If you go to Twitter, don't get lost. This is our Twitter platform. It looks like this, branded in this color. It will have 8 Learning. The handle is called 8 Learning_Institute, Inst. Or you can just simply say 8 Learning Institute of Technology and of Management. So these are the content that we always post, just updates to keep you focused in programming. So and relevant development. So even though you don't have, you feel like giving up, we shall always update you with interesting things. So kindly follow up, because the information that we share there is developmental when it comes to the technology and keep you updated. So these are the courses that we are providing. We have this one here, and then this one here, and then this one here, and then this one here. So go ahead and please follow us, and so that you can be you can stay updated, or you can also reach to us, so we can always help you when you need, you are in need. So that is 8 Learning. So that's their contact, and that's how you can reach to us through X. So I will now open the floor for the questions. If you have any questions, or if you have any experience that you'd like to share, kindly raise your hand up, and then I'll choose you, and then you'll either ask a question and then we shall answer, or we do what, or you share something, or you give a comment briefly, and then after that we shall close our today's webinar. So now the floor is open for you members. If there's anyone who feels they have something to ask, or they have something to comment, please put your arm up, or you can just open your microphone and go ahead. Do we have any question or any comment? Any question, members? Any remarks? Any vote of thanks? Or any just comment? So as you're waiting for you to open your microphones or your microphone, all right, I see an emoji, someone saying thanks. I've enjoyed the session. All right, that's it. Yeah, okay, I see now at least you have responded. I thought that I'm here with no one. Okay, that's good. You guys have responded. Yeah, so to conclude, that's all you need, just to keep in the circles of people or community like us. You'll find yourself, we shall pull you one day, or maybe you'll find that you may fall in, and then you start crawling, and then you become a programmer by accident, which is also very possible. So these webinars will keep moving on. So you can when you communicate another webinar, you can just open and tune in, and then listen, just listening for 30 minutes, and get this knowledge for free. How much are the course modules? So the courses, I've given you the number of administrator, They are ranging from 300,000 Ugandan shillings up to 600,000. They are just between there, depending on what you want. So if you really are interested, just reach out to our administrator. Let me paste here the number of our administrator, and then she'll be able to do what? To answer all your questions that you have. So before I close, I would like to finalize by saying, I'm going to put here the number of our administrator. So before I close, I would like to emphasize that if you think that this is not right for you, but you have someone else who you think might not be interested, please share with that person. It can be your brother, it can be anyone. Okay, share with a person, share with that person, and maybe you never know, we can start someone's career in that way that you didn't expect. So that's all I can tell you, members. Always, you can try to share, and maybe you never know, you may change someone's whole career or whole path just from one thing that you shared. And lastly, the very last point, I always say last many times. So the very last point, these things can be learned by everyone. Even if a P7 student who is in their vacation, they can be able to do these things, as long as you just have the motivation and the resources that are required. So if you have your young brother who is in vacation, if you have your son or who is in vacation, who you think that can learn these things,